Well, in Iran during Mohammad Mossadegh's uh, premiership, and his government was removed, and this is now documented, was removed by the CIA, and it was because an independent-minded prime minister came and took over in Iran and wanted to make policies for the interest of the people of Iran. And so we all, we all know what happened to him. There was this. First of all, there was this campaign, uh, propaganda campaign against him in the media. Then it was the opposition parties were paid to do demonstrations against the government of Prime Minister Mossadegh, and then his own party members were given money to change party affiliation, and eventually it was the final was the army which removed him. So it was a very similar pattern followed in when my government was dismissed. But let me just talk about Iran. I find that it is most important for a country to live with dignity and self-respect. I mean, that for me is the most important thing. We Muslims, our oath with the Almighty is La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. It gives us dignity, self-respect. We are not supposed to bow in front of anyone but the Almighty. And the Muslim countries, when they become subservient or when they become client states, when they lose their dignity, and unfortunately in Pakistan we have suffered from this. I have found the Pakistan's foreign policy, vast majority of the people of Pakistan have found it very undignified, because we have relied on aid and we stretch our hands and we get money, or we fight other people's war, and then we participate. A lot of our own people die in this, and we do it for foreign aid or US dollars. And I think it has consequences for a society. Number one, the society never learns to stand on its own feet, because only when you stand on your own feet do you realize your strength. But when you're always having crutches of foreign aid, just because you are trying to serve someone else's foreign policy objectives, you lose your dignity. And for me, the people of Iran might have suffered, but they haven't lost their dignity. We will disagree with maybe what their worldview is. We might disagree with their worldview of Islam, but you cannot disagree with them standing for their sovereignty. So I admire that about them.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Our next question comes from Imran Khan, who is a PhD candidate at Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University and also a research associate at SIGA. Mariam, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum. It's really a pleasure to sit in front of you. I am personally a voter of PTI and I'll be ever. My question is regarding Afghanistan. It's been after 2-decade-long war of US against Afghanistan. Taliban have turned to power now, which wasn't supported by leftists in Pakistan because they saw them as a source of terrorism. Now, we Pakistanis are again facing a wave of terrorism, and Islamabad is on high alert. So how do you see the Taliban in Afghanistan, and how do you think that the current security threat which Pakistan is facing now has something to do with Afghan Taliban also? Also, you have supported a lot of laws like blasphemy law and religion-based laws, but on the same time you have criticized a lot of religious parties which were in the coalition. So how do you see the role of religion in the politics? Thank you so much.
Okay, so first of all, you must differentiate between the Afghan Taliban and the Pakistan Taliban. The Afghan Taliban are completely different. Their aims and objectives are completely different to the TTP, which is the Pakistan Taliban. Who were the Pakistan Taliban? when the Afghan Jihad was conducted from the soil of Pakistan, it was conducted to what was called the tribal areas of Pakistan, or FATA. Now, these were areas adjoining the Afghan border. And all the sort of incursions into Afghanistan by the Mujahideen were from the tribal area. And a lot of the fighters also from Pakistan were from the tribal areas. And there were Pashtuns, which were the Pakistani. You know, you must remember, Afghanistan is 50% Pashtun, and 2/3 of Pashtun live in Pakistan, and most of them along the border, the eastern border of Afghanistan. So therefore, there was a lot of Pashtun sympathy for the Afghan Jihad. So hence, from the tribal area, the border adjoining Afghanistan, that's where the fighters used to go in, and the Mujahideen used to operate. So when come 9/11, Afghanistan gets invaded by the Americans. Now Pakistan government took this stand, which I opposed. We should have stayed neutral. They started supporting the US war on terror. And so the same people who had been fighting jihad against the Soviets because they were foreign invaders now were told that because it's the US, if you fight against them, it's terrorism. So they turned against the Pakistan government. And so what we had was, in tribal areas, the people turning against the Pakistan government, and they were called the TTP, the Pakistan Taliban. And so there were two different things. Afghanistan Taliban were not connected with them. I mean, they were connected vaguely, but not really. There was not real connection with them. So what happened was that after Kabul fell to the Taliban last August, the Pakistan Taliban were then asked by the Afghan Taliban to go back into Pakistan. And unfortunately, that was a great time for us my government was already negotiating with them so that we would do a resettlement of these people, because there were about 40,000 people which were moving into Pakistan, amongst them about 5,000 to 10,000 fighters, but their families too. So unfortunately, when my government went, the eye was taken off the ball, and the new government and the setup, our military establishment did not pay enough attention to what was happening with the resettlement of the Taliban coming in. And so therefore we have this wave of terrorism coming in now, and this is all along what was the former FATA, the former tribal areas, because they've got merged into Pakistan. So we have a wave of terrorism in Pakistan right now, and this needs to be dealt with before it goes out of hand. Now I come to what you're talking about, religious parties and religious laws. Look, let me first tell you about the blasphemy law. The blasphemy law was not made by Pakistan, it was made by the British when they were ruling India. And the idea of the blasphemy law was that if one religious community, and remember there were multi-religious communities living in villages. There were Hindus, there were Sikhs, there were Muslims, there were Christians. So if one religious community said something which was derogatory against another religious community of a sacred entity, so there would be riots, there would be a lot of people killed. So the British then brought in this blasphemy law that you were not allowed to say anything derogatory about any religious entity of any other religion. That's how it came about, to stop riots. So therefore, rather than there being lynching crowds and lynching mobs going on and killing people who thought that their religion blasphemy had been committed against them, now it was an offense, so you had to actually go to court to prove that. So that was to stop mob violence, lynching crowds. So Pakistan basically inherited the policy. And in Pakistan,